Back now to our top story, Fox News election alert. This is breaking news on this major campaign controversy out of Alaska. As I mentioned moments ago, Joe Miller, he's the Republican candidate for Senate in Alaska. His campaign is accusing a local TV station of knowingly conspiring to smear him with about 72 hours to go before this thing is tied up. Moments ago, that TV station blasted the Miller camp, accusing them of misrepresenting the events, but confirming the authenticity of this tape. For some context, to explain what we're talking about, our chief political correspondent, campaign Carl Cameron, is live here in New York. Carl, how did this begin?
It began last Thursday, although you could argue that it began when the Senate campaign began in Alaska months before that. Joe Miller is in a very, very close race with Lisa Murkowski, as well as the Democrat Scott McAdams. And last Thursday, Joe Miller and Sarah Palin held a joint rally in Anchorage. And before it occurred, a phone call was made from the studios of KTVA, the CBS affiliate in Anchorage, Alaska, to the Miller campaign's spokesperson, Randy DeSoto. The call was disconnected, they thought, but it continued. And the tape recording that was then collected by the Miller campaign and has since been put out on the web has caused a huge uproar, not the least of which was picked up by Sarah Palin this morning on Fox News Sunday. Listen to this.
I am saying, and we have it on tape, that CBS reporters in the affiliate up there in Alaska on tape are saying, let's find a child molester in the crowd as a supporter for Joe Miller. Let's blast that. Let's concoct a Ron Paul moment there. Let's find any kind of chaos so that we can tweet an alert saying, ooh, there was chaos. Joe Miller got punched or vice. That's sick. Those are corrupt bastards, Chris. That's what is wrong with the media today when they have their chosen one.
Tough language and a difficult story coming just now 2.5 days before the polls, the actual election itself. Sarah Palin's been a huge critic of the Alaska and the national media, saying that they often interfere and misrepresent, teeing off. Now, here's the audio of this recorded voicemail. It was an accidental call. It was recorded unbeknownst to the person who had actually originally dialed it. It's sometimes hard to hear, but here it is.
Oh, yeah. Joe Miller's list of people, campaign workers, which one's the molester?
You know how to call it. One of them will get right to the second.
Exactly. You're find that one.
And the one thing we can do, well, we won't know if there's any sort of chaos whatsoever. We can put out a Twitter and Facebook alert saying, you know, what the new feed is. Hey, Joe Miller clenched at rally. It's kind of like Rand Paul. I like that. That's a good one.
Well, the general manager of KTVA, Jerry Beaver, has acknowledged that, in fact, the recording is authentic, but they say the conclusions and the allegations are false. In part, he said in a statement today, the perception that this garbled, out-of-context recording may leave is unfortunate, but to allege that our staff was discussing or planning to create or fabricate stories regarding candidate Miller is absurd. The KTVA general manager, Jerry Beaver, goes on to say the complete conversation was about what others might be able to do to cause disruption within the Miller campaign, not what KTVA could do. And he said, have we had internal discussions about the level of professionalism we need to bring to our conversations internally and externally? Of course. That is not going to be good enough for the National Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee, Joe Miller's campaign, or Sarah Palin. They believe that this is yet another example of people meddling in Alaska's electoral politics, and in this case specifically targeting Joe Miller.
Carl Cameron, thank you. And as Carl just mentioned, the general manager of this TV station, the CBS affiliate involved, said in part, while the recording is real, the allegations are untrue. He says that this was a group of KTVA news personnel reviewing potential what-if scenarios that they would then cover. Dan Springer broke this news in just the last 10 minutes. We go to him live now in Anchorage. Dan, we're having some signal difficulty, so hopefully we'll stay connected, but tell us what you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just got to Jerry Beaver. I went to his house a few moments ago. I actually caught him in his pajamas. He answered the door, and I told him who I was, and I said, we'd like to have a comment about this audio tape. And he said, you know what, I'll get a statement out to you guys as soon as possible. There will be no on-camera interviews, but Carl Cameron just really went through pretty accurately what that statement said, and essentially it's that he is saying that, yes, this is in fact an audio tape that is real. He authenticated that tape. He says it did in fact happen. It was a telephone call that did not hang up from an iPhone from one of his staff members there who was calling Randy DeSoto, who is the spokesperson for the Miller campaign. They were trying to line up Miller for an interview after the event that night at the center there in Anchorage, the big rally with Sarah Palin, and that phone call did not hang up. And he said that, but he did say that that the allegations from the Miller campaign that this is about a concerted effort by the people of KTVA to create some bogus story about Miller and the people who attend Miller rallies is absolutely false, that it was not about that at all. It was a planning meeting, and he said that the allegations are absurd, as Carl Cameron said. So they're trying to knock this down as quickly as possible. Obviously, this is not good for the station. They are covering this campaign as everyone is, and they don't want the appearance that they are biased in any way. We actually had some of our staffers look at some of the more recent articles and stories that KTVA has done to see if there was any obvious bias or hit pieces against Joe Miller, and we couldn't find that. We could not see any obvious signs of bias or hit pieces done by KTVA against Joe Miller. So obviously they said that this is a learning experience for them. They will be looking at the procedures and who was on that conversation and take appropriate steps. But they're trying to knock this controversy down as quickly as possible.
All right, Dan Springer, live in Anchorage. Thank you so much. And I just want to clarify for our viewers now. Hold on before we get to this. I want to clarify for our viewers where it stands now. Because Sarah Palin came out today and called these reporters part of, basically she used the terms, and I quote, corrupt bastards, saying this is part of an ongoing media problem that some on the right, the conservative right, have experienced. This is what the station claims it did. It says that the group of news personnel was reviewing potential what-if scenarios, discussing the likelihood of events at the rally, and how KTVA might logistically disseminate any breaking news. The transcript of the audio shows a female reporter talking about child molesters and a male reporter saying, yeah, get a list of people/campaign workers. Which one's the molester? And then you heard the female voice on that snippet we played say, you know that of all the people that will show up tonight, at least one of them will be a registered sex offender. So the accusation by the other side is they're not discussing the likelihood of events at the rally and how they might be covered. They're ordering their reporters to get a list of people/campaign workers and figure out which one is the molester. There you see the divide on both sides about what actually happened on that tape and what it tells us about the media. We're going to have much more on this over the next hour, and we're joined by a special guest in our 2 p.m. hour to break this down for us. I also want to mention that Joe Miller will be live on Neil Cavuto's show today at 4. You don't want to miss that. And now we head to Washington.